Welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about the oat, which is not a common plant that we generally talk about as backyard gardeners, right? But I actually feel like it might have a place in this context, especially in use as a cover crop. Maybe if your garden is large enough, you can also use it for seed production as well, whether you sow it in the fall or in the spring. One key element to good soil health is keeping the soil covered. Better yet, if you can have living roots in there to help facilitate aeration, water drainage, and microbial life. And so oats can help us accomplish this on a few different levels, right? These plants, when planted as a cover crop, they can help to smother out competition from weeds, and then they can provide that root biomass underneath in the soil. And then also, if these plants winter kill, the plants can then lodge or fall over and act as a mulch, protecting the soil from the sun and the other elements. Earlier in the springtime, when other plants aren't planted yet or maybe slow to come up, these oats can be planted to help cover the soil. Earlier on in the season, the ground begins to thaw, the temperatures begin to climb back up, and some of these nutrients like carbon and nitrogen and such may not be as stable in the soil profile, and then they may enter the atmosphere more easily, right? And so these oats help to kind of cover and protect the soil. So the oat is an annual plant. It can be a cold hardy crop, especially depending on where you are geographically. In more severe climates, oats are planted in the mid to late summer as a cover crop that will winter kill and then provide that mulch on top of the soil throughout the winter. However, in those same climates, if the oats are planted early in the springtime, they are usually grown for seed and will produce that seed usually later on in late summer or later on into fall. Now, what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be planting the oats in the springtime, right? We're right in the beginning of March, and so we want to go out there as soon as the soil can be worked and it's not too wet, right? You can plant some oat seeds, and these plants should be fairly fast to germinate and don't necessarily take as long as other plants do to get established. And these plants can also be planted earlier than a lot of even our early spring crops, because the oat plants, especially when they're young, they can survive temperatures down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit when they're kind of in the seedling stage. So we can really kind of use that to our advantage by getting the soil covered and get green plants growing in the garden even earlier in the year. And so that translates to more opportunity for photosynthesis to benefit your garden and it helps to keep that soil profile as balanced as possible so that it's ready to be planted, and hopefully it's not super compact. Whereas if you just left that soil bare in the springtime, then you might have to till it or work it in some way because the soil would be so compact, may have lost its dark coloration and things like that. So you want to really take care of the soil as much as you can, and I feel that the oats can help us to do that. So there are a couple of different types of oats that we can grow. There is the conventional oats that have a pretty thick hull on them, which is basically a seed coat on top of the seed. And then there's also another variety called the hull-less oat, which doesn't have that outer coating on the seed. That outer coating is pretty formidable. It's tough, and if you are going to consume the grain, you have to remove that hull, right? You have to like thresh and winnow that material off of the seed so that the seed can then become edible. So it's also worth noting that the oats can be allelopathic. And basically in allelopathy, certain plant can produce certain compounds that can inhibit the growth of other plants or outright kill certain plants. In this case, the oats may affect the germination or growth rate of some lettuces, certain types of peas, certain types of plants in the mustard family, or maybe some other grasses like wheat. So definitely be mindful of where you plant this plant in the garden. If you think it might inhibit the growth of other plants, then maybe you plant the oats somewhere else or not there. But yeah, use your best judgment, do some experimentation. So basically what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to go to areas maybe that have bare soil and I'll plant some oats there. But also I'm going to seek out the areas where I have some leaf mulch on top of the garden beds, and I'm going to rake some of that leaf mulch away, and then I will plant the oat plants there as well. And then that leaf mulch then I will then transfer into the compost since it's already broken down. It's become brittle from the sunlight as well, and hopefully that will biodegrade at a reasonably fast rate and be a great addition to the compost pile. Right, so the key of what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get the living roots in the soil and getting greenery on top of the soil so that we can really take advantage of that photosynthesis. Alright, so on that note, I want to thank you for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Take care.